You are watching The Dawn Show here with Dr. Lori. We are live, we are local. We've already got a call actually from Dylan. Dylan, you're on the air.
Dr. Lori, how are you?
Hi, Dylan. How are you?
I'm good. Do you remember me from the Bloom?
Do I remember you from the Bloom? I'm all over the country.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to remember,
Yeah.
but sure, Dylan, I remember you.
Yeah, of course you do. Come on.
What's your question, Dylan?
I wanted to ask you. Well, my question is, I bought a pair. Well, it's not exactly a pair. It's a set of Japanese Katani statues.
Good.
And I believe they're quite old.
Okay, what's
And,
quite old to you?
they're-
You know, my niece is 18 and she thinks I'm quite old. What's old, honey?
1850s.
I think they're 1740 if they're real Katanis.
Right. Well, they're
So
all
you're not
colored.
sure on
You
the
know, they
date,
have
right?
What?
Dylan, so you're not sure on the date?
I'm not sure on the date.
Okay. What can you tell me that you are sure of?
Well,
how big are they?
I'm sure that, well, the one is 18 inches and the other is about 5.
Okay, all right.
And I looked up the colors and how they determine the date, and I didn't really find anything, but they have a lot of blue in them.
Okay. So with these particular types of pieces, you want to think about particular aspects and attributes and traits of objects. So he's talking about relatively rare figures from Japan, which date any time between about 1740 and about 1850. Okay, so he's erring on the side of being conservative and saying mine are probably in the middle part of the 1800s. Okay. I'm usually saying 99% of them that have a blue tone, which usually indicates that they are from a particular time period, are a little bit earlier than he thinks. Now, did you pay more than $2,000 a piece for the larger one? The 5-inch one, I'm gonna probably negate.
Okay.
How much did you pay, Dylan?
How much did you pay for it, Dylan?
For the larger one, I paid $200, and the smaller one, I paid $60.
Did you pay in an estate sale environment, or did you pay in a retail sale environment? The yard sale, for example, is usually wholesale. You're going to get a bargain. The auction is wholesale. You're going to get a bargain if you're buying. If you're selling, you're going to lose money
wholesale.
selling in those environments. In a retail environment, that's, you know, your antique store and everything looks nice and shiny and pretty. Did you, in fact, buy it in that environment?
I bought it in a wholesale environment.
You bought it in a wholesale environment. Okay. So you probably paid somewhere between 10 and 20% for a piece worth about $2,000, Dylan. That was worth a phone call.
You got a deal. Dylan, thanks for calling. We're going to move on, but
Okay.
I love, we can all learn from all the questions that you're asking.
Well, yeah, you have to know what questions to ask. That's the whole thing. So, you know, like, for example, this particular piece, the pocketbook's on the table. That particular pocketbook, you know a little bit about this purse, right, Dawn?
Yes, this was my Graham Stensland, we called her Graham, and this was her purse from back in the day that I've saved, and it's crocheted, and I know nothing about it, just that I saved it, and it was Graham's.
Okay, crocheted tatting, it dates between 1905 and 1925, that was the style at the time, and value on them is much more sentimental than it will be monetary. But people pay about $90 for those pieces in that condition.
Oh, that's interesting.
Now, to you, you're saying, but it was Graham's. You can't put a price tag on it, Lori. And that's really what happens with families, those pieces that you can't put a price tag on. You know, these are my mom's salt and pepper shakers. My mother never used salt, ever. She's Italian. They don't need salt, right? So basically, but those pieces are very, very important to me, sentimentally. They're worth probably 25 bucks. But they were moms. So, you know, now that she's 91, you go, well, they're moms, right? So you want to think about those types of things. I want you to identify those pieces when we start to look at antiques that will have significant value to anybody. Okay. Not just to our families. Okay, so we're going to look at things that speak to an era. If I said, when was this dish made? In the 1940s or 1970s, what would you say?
40s.
Right, because you look at it and you say it looks like the 40s. Yeah. It doesn't have that avocado green color of the 70s, right? So it looks like the 40s. And that's a piece of Blue Ridge, and these go for about $75, one of these plates.
Oh my goodness.
And this was the plate that a middle-class family would eat off of in the 1940s that have become collectible because of the good old internet. So you're thinking about those types of things, because these plates became the thing that, you know, sort of the younger generations has said, the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, the people who are shopping at yard sales saying, God, that was like my grandma's house. So the market gets, there's an interest in the market and the price goes up.
Isn't that something?
Okay, and marked right there, Blue Ridge.
Okay.
Okay, so easy.
We'll look for that at the yard sales.
Yeah, and look for these kinds of dishes because they really are coming out. And when you're shopping at yard sales, people are surprised to learn most of the people who are collectors are shopping at the yard sales in the houses that are at least 40 or 50 years old.
Right.
Where those people are starting to downsize and move on. So those yard sales are usually coveted in those neighborhoods. You know the older neighborhoods.
Yeah, but I want to ask you about, because if I were at a sale, and I saw this for 75 cents.
Right.
I would say to the person and I'd say, I'm Dawn from the Dawn Show, and Dr. Lori, Dr. Lori, you better call her because this is worth $75.
Right.
There comes a point, I think, when you have to be ethical, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you're at a sale and you know somebody's unloading something for 75 cents when it's worth the two, I mean, should have some ethics about it.
Your viewers probably remember my yard sale tours where I would go around and tell the yard sale host, oh, you know what? That's worth this much. You want to reprice it or bring it back in the house. And, not buy anything at a yard sale, but tell you what's what. I mean, I did those TV shows for years. But basically, it's true. You do have to be ethical if you know something. I think you wouldn't feel good if you bought it from somebody and then brought it home. Every time you looked at it, you'd say, oh, I took that person. Nobody wants to do that.
But legally, if somebody pays 75 cents and they know it's worth 75, there's no law against that?
No, they decide to sell it. They decided to sell it.
All right.
It's not right for you and me, but people do that. And the big auction houses do that.
Okay.
They have runners going to yard sales all the time. Lots of dealers do that. This is where they get a lot of inventory.
Okay.
In terms of looking at objects, you want to think about what is, in fact, popular of an era. So we know this is the 1940s. It looks like the 40s. We know that this has to be after the 1980s.
Right.
Right? Because, obviously Homer and, and Bart and the crew aren't really working until then. So
and you know what? We're going to talk about Homer and the crew when we come right back.
Okay.